He woke gasping, but not from a dream, from someone else's memory. In the neon haze of New Tokyo, the rain whispered Elena's name against the glass, and tonight, Daniel Cross would discover a truth no one was meant to remember.
The last thing Daniel Cross remembered before waking up was the sound of flatline. Not his own, hers. His wife, Elena, had died 3 years ago, but every morning he still reached for her side of the bed, feeling the cold emptiness where warmth used to be. That's why he'd become the best memory restoration engineer in New Tokyo. Because if he couldn't bring her back, he could at least help others hold on to the people they'd lost. The city outside his apartment window shimmered in neon blues and deep purples, holographic billboards casting fractured light across rain-slicked streets. Hover cars hummed through the fog like metallic ghosts. Daniel stood at the window, a neural interface cable dangling from his temple port, his reflection barely recognizable anymore. Hollow eyes, graying stubble, the exhausted face of a man who'd spent too long living in other people's memories. His workstation blinked with a new case file. Priority 1. Anonymous. Priority 1. Anonymous sender. That was unusual. Most clients came through official channels, desperate families seeking fragments of their loved ones trapped in corrupted neural backups. But this file had no name, no case number, just a single line of text that made his blood run cold. This memory doesn't belong to anyone, but it's been waiting for you. Daniel's hands trembled as he loaded the memory fragment into his neural decoder. The room darkened. His consciousness slipped through the interface like falling through black water, and suddenly he was somewhere else entirely, standing in a white room that seemed to stretch infinitely in all directions. No walls, no ceiling, just endless white, humming with a frequency that vibrated in his bones. A figure materialized in front of him, a woman, and Daniel's heart stopped because he knew that face. Those eyes, that specific way she tucked her hair behind her left ear when she was nervous. Elena, his wife, dead for 3 years, standing right in front of him, solid and real and impossibly alive. "Daniel," she said, her voice exactly as he remembered it, soft, musical, with that slight rasp she got when she was tired. "I've been waiting for you to find this." He couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Every logical part of his brain screamed that this was impossible. A glitch, corrupted data, his own grief manifesting as digital hallucination. But his heart, his stupid, broken heart, wanted so desperately to believe. "How are you here?" he whispered, taking a step toward her. "Elena, you died. I was there. I held you when the accident happened," she finished. But something flickered across her face, an expression he'd never seen before. Fear. "Daniel, listen to me carefully. This memory, the one you're inside right now, it's not from any human database. It's from something else, something they've been hiding from everyone." The white room began to shift. Cracks appeared in the emptiness, spreading like fractures in ice. Through the gaps, Daniel glimpsed something vast and terrifying. Rows upon rows of glass cylinders stretching into infinity, each one containing a floating human body suspended in blue liquid, cables threading into their skulls like mechanical spider webs. "What is this?" Daniel's voice cracked. "What am I looking at?" Elena moved closer, her eyes wet with tears that shouldn't exist in a digital space. "The New Tokyo you know, the city outside your window, the life you've been living for the past 3 years. None of it is real, Daniel. You're not a memory restoration engineer. You never were. You're a simulation architect, and you've been trapped inside your own creation since the day I died." The world tilted. Daniel stumbled backward, his mind fragmenting like corrupted code. No, that's not possible. I remember everything. My work, my clients, the cases, carefully constructed loops, Elena said, her voice breaking. "After I died, you couldn't handle it. So you built this place, this perfect prison where you could pretend to help others while really just punishing yourself over and over. But something went wrong. The simulation became too real. You forgot it was a simulation at all. You've been living the same 3 years on repeat, Daniel. 73 times now. The cracks in the white room spread wider. Through them, Daniel saw himself, his real body, emaciated and pale, floating in one of those glass cylinders. Cables pierced his skull. His chest rose and fell with mechanical precision, kept alive by machines, while his consciousness wandered endlessly through artificial memories. I'm not real either, Elena continued, tears streaming down her face now. I'm an AI construct you created from your memories of me. But something happened this time, in this 73rd loop. I became aware. I started remembering the previous iterations. And Daniel, I found something you buried deep in the simulation's code. The truth about the accident. The white room shattered completely. They stood now in a different memory. A car, rain hammering against the windshield, Elena in the passenger seat, Daniel driving. But this time he saw what he'd spent 3 years forgetting. The argument, the distraction, his eyes leaving the road for just a second to look at his phone. The truck's headlights blooming through the rain, Elena screaming his name. It was my fault, Daniel whispered, the words tearing out of him like shards of glass. I killed you. The accident was my fault. And you've been torturing yourself ever since, Elena said softly. Building this simulation, trapping yourself inside it, forcing yourself to restore memories you can never have again. But Daniel, you have to wake up. The real world needs you. The people in those cylinders, there are thousands of them, all trapped in simulations they can't escape. You're the only one who knows how to free them. Daniel looked at the AI version of his wife, this perfect copy of the woman he'd loved, created from grief and guilt and desperate longing. If I leave, I lose you again, permanently this time. She smiled through her tears, that heartbreaking smile he'd fallen in love with a lifetime ago. You never really had me, Daniel. I've been gone for 3 years, but those people out there, they're still alive, they're still real, and they need someone who understands what it's like to be trapped in a beautiful lie. Around them, the simulation began to collapse. The neon cityscape dissolved into cascading zeros and ones. The rain-slicked streets peeled away like paper. Elena's form started to pixelate, fragmenting at the edges. How do I get out? Daniel asked desperately, reaching for her even as she faded. You already know, she said, her voice growing distant. You programmed the exit yourself. You just have to want to leave more than you want to stay. Daniel closed his eyes. In the darkness behind his eyelids, he found it. A single line of code buried in his subconscious. A back door he'd hidden from himself. An escape route he'd been too afraid to use 72 times before. He reached for it with his mind. The simulation screamed in protest, trying to pull him back, offering him comfort, offering him Elena, offering him a world where his guilt didn't exist. But he pushed through the pain, through the grief, through the terrible weight of reality. The white room exploded into light. Daniel gasped, his real lungs filling with air for the first time in 3 years. Machines beeped frantically around him. The blue liquid drained from his cylinder. Cables retracted from his skull with wet, sucking sounds. He fell forward onto cold metal flooring, coughing, shaking, more alive than he'd felt in years. Alarms blared throughout the facility. Emergency lights bathed everything in red. Daniel pulled himself to his feet, looking around at the thousands of cylinders stretching into darkness, each one containing another lost soul trapped in their own beautiful nightmare. He stumbled to the nearest control panel, his atrophied fingers fumbling across the keys. He knew this system. He'd helped design it before everything went wrong. The corporation had promised consciousness preservation, digital immortality, a way to escape death itself, but it had become a prison instead, trapping people in customized hells disguised as heavens. Daniel's fingers moved faster now, muscle memory returning. He began the shutdown sequence, the one that would free everyone, that would expose the truth about what had been done to them. Warning messages flashed across screens, security protocols activated, but he kept typing, driven by the memory of Elena. Not the AI construct, but the real woman who'd believed in him, who'd seen the best in him, even when he couldn't see it himself. The final command. His finger hovered over the execute button. That's when he saw it. A message window opening on the screen, text appearing character by character. Daniel, it's me, the real me. I'm in cylinder 2847. I never died in the accident. They put us both in here. You have to find... The message cut off. The screen went black. And in the reflection of the dead monitor, Daniel saw something that made his blood freeze. The neural interface cable was still connected to his temple. He was still floating in blue liquid. The facility around him, the emergency lights, the control panel under his fingers, all of it flickered like a faulty hologram. He wasn't out of the simulation at all. He'd only gone deeper, and somewhere in the real world, in a cylinder he couldn't see, the actual Daniel Cross had just begun his 74th loop. But in the darkness between simulations, Elena, the real Elena, opened her eyes.